And for Off the Block, I'm Vanny Lopes, and we are now joined by NCAA Tournament Men's Volleyball Selection Committee Chairman Ron Shayka, and we are just a day away from Selection Saturday. And first and foremost, thanks for joining us. And what is this time like right now for you guys as the committee trying to determine the NCAA Tournament field?
Well, the committee's been in touch pretty regularly over the last couple of days. We've been talking, and each of the region representatives has had a close eye on how their particular conference tournaments are going, and we've been comparing notes and talking about those results, and also looking forward to the championship matches and trying to look at all the different possible combinations that might come from those championship matches.
Right. And now I know that we can't get into any of the specific teams until Selection Saturday is over, but I do want to ask kind of the overall philosophy with the selection committee this year. Are you guys putting any additional weight on any of the criteria categories?
You know, we don't really specify that. I think it's important to remember kind of the two different paths to the postseason, at least the NCAA postseason. One is the one that teams have the most control over, and that is they can win their conference championship, and it eliminates any questions. They get themselves into the tournament with a win in the championship match. The other is the excellence over the course of the season. That has a few more criteria involved, and that's what we as a committee have to do, is look at all the criteria involved and try to evaluate that second path, which is body of work over the whole season.
Right. Yeah, and kind of talking about, the body of work over the whole season and the at-large bid process. I know you've been on the committee for many years. Does it get any easier any year with the at-large bid and trying to determine it, or is it always a challenge?
The criteria is pretty specific, but I think what happens is that there's always emotion that comes into evaluating teams and watching how they perform down the stretch. But when it comes down to it, we really do look at a couple of things year in and year out. And our first stop is always head-to-head. You look at teams that are in contention for that at-large bid, and you start to evaluate how they did when they played each other. So that's always the first starting point for us, and we look at that. And the RPI, which is important as well, that helps us make sense of all the other criteria. It's kind of a summation. As you can break down all the individual pieces and see who's ahead, then you look at the RPI for more of a collective evaluation at the end.
Right. Now, for you guys as committee members, you just kind of look at the schedule. You have a match, especially for you. You're on the East Coast right now at the EIVA tournament. You have an MPSF match that starts at 10 o'clock at night, and then, sometime tomorrow morning, you guys are going to have to meet to talk, and then, the Selection Saturday is around 1 o'clock. Just how chaotic can it get, just trying to see all the matches and, meet and deliberate before the announcement comes?
It is kind of nutty. We talked about it today. We will again talk tonight after the MPSF finals. So that puts us at approximately midnight East Coast time. So with our committee members, no matter where we are, a couple of us probably on the road, will be maybe along the roadside doing a conference call after that championship match out west to see where we are, and we'll talk again early tomorrow morning to make sure that we're set for tomorrow afternoon's selection show.
Yeah. And a couple more questions before we let you go here. One thing about the committee this year is you guys do have a new member, just the regular turnover, because you guys are on a multi-year cycle. How has the dynamic been this year with a new committee member?
It's been really good. Our committee takes the responsibility very strongly, and I think Janine from Ohio State, our newest committee member, has kept an eye on the MIVA, and our feedback throughout the year, the opportunity to compare notes, we're always checking in. So it's a labor of love and a passion. But I think the men's collegiate volleyball game is fortunate to have such strong leaders in each of the regions, as well as the Conference Carolinas, that we're on top of things as the year goes through.
And, what's the one thing that you would want the college men's volleyball fan to know about your committee heading into Selection Saturday, and when that announcement is made on Selection Saturday?
I think if there's one thing, it's to realize just how passionate the people are as far as being involved in trying to do the right thing for the game. We know that there's a lot of effort that goes in the practice gym and competition and coaches' offices. So there's a lot of effort that we recognize, and we take our responsibility very seriously. And so this time of year, our calls are very businesslike. I think that's one thing that I carry away is knowing that we're all trying to do the best and represent all the student athletes and coaches that love the game.
All right, and final question here before we let you go. We know that you're at the EIVA tournament, so just what's your initial thoughts on the upcoming championship match tonight between George Mason and Penn State?
Well, I wear a couple of different hats. Obviously, as a sport administrator at George Mason and a former coach, I've got a real passion for the Mason guys. Also, being a former Penn State volleyball player, I've got some ties up here as well. So I'm hoping that it's a great competitive match, and certainly want the best team to win. And we're looking forward to a good match.